special guest today. He's single-handedly the reason I ended up putting on an NC State uniform. We've grown very close. I'm sure we'll get into another story. He's single-handedly the reason I didn't transfer after I lost a staff. So he's the reason I came back as well. So I'm very excited to have him on today. I'd like to welcome an NC State legend, a national champion, Monte Towe.
Yeah, thank you very much, Scott. Those are such nice words, and I always thank you for coming to NC State, and thank you for giving me the credit. But it was really the whole ACC, and we could go back to Dick Dickey recruiting me and the connections from Indiana. So just thank you for coming to NC State. You're one of the greatest shooters I've ever had the opportunity to be around. That speaks volumes. I've been around some good ones.
Yeah, so we're going to get into all those stories. So let's kind of start. What was it like growing up? You went to Oak Hill High School, which is, 10, 15 minutes from my high school. What was it like growing up in Indiana? And then kind of touch on you kind of coming through, because you were a rather good baseball, football, and basketball player.
Well, you've done your homework. And growing up in Indiana and playing basketball kind of went hand in hand. It just seemed like, that's what we did. And it was a game that I fell in love with at a young age. I don't think you ever played in the old Marion Coliseum, but as a kid, my father used to take me to games at the Marion Coliseum and the games at Oak Hill High School. Earl Brown was the local star at Oak Hill at that time. He eventually went to Purdue and had a good career. And just the excitement of being in a gym full of people, the atmosphere there at that time was just incredible for high school basketball. Still is, I guess, at this, day and age, but a little bit different. And just, the fact that I was able to get out there and play, and I played on great high school football teams, very good high school basketball teams, and very good baseball teams. I was with a competitive group at Oak Hill. Some of the toughest guys that I've ever been around were guys that I played high school ball with at Oak Hill. And then we always had the Marion Giants lurking over there in the city, and always looking up to them. And when I was growing up, they were at the time one of the best teams ever to play at Marion, with Jerry Townsend and Jovan Price and guys like that. So just the whole atmosphere and the excitement of playing, and really just falling in love with the game. And that's what it was all about. And to this day, I love the game. I don't know if I love it as much as when I was growing up and just infatuated with it and just ate it up all the time. But it's been great to me, and growing up in Indiana was a great experience for me. I'm sure it was for you. You seem like a very happy young man, and always taking care of yourself, and a good place to grow up.
Yeah, it's definitely an easy transition, and I'm sure it was for you, just to go from Indiana high school basketball to down here, where obviously it was growing when you came, but when I was here, it was just like, this is where college basketball is. This is the mecca, the best of the best. So it's definitely an easy transition. So to kind of talk about, you mentioned Dick Dickey. I kind of got the background story on this, and it's a pretty good one. Talk about your recruitment to State and how Dick Dickey was involved.
Yeah, I feel like some things are karma. Some things happen, and in this case, I go back to Everett Case. My father used to watch Everett Case's teams play at Frankfort High School when Everett Case was winning state championships in Indiana. I think he won 3 or 4. Yep. And then I play at Oak Hill High School. Dick Dickey is a good friend of Norm Sloan's. Dick Dickey lives in Marion, Indiana. Dick Dickey, next to David Thompson, might be recognized as the best player ever to play at North Carolina State University. There's a lot of guys I can mention, but Dick's one of them. And Norm owed him a favor, because Dick had recommended John Mingelt from Elwood to Norm. And John was a 6'2" center, great player, played at Auburn. And he kicked Norm's butt one night. And Norm called Dick and said, the next guy you recommend, I'm taking him no matter who it is, and you're looking at him. I was next. And just all those things tied together. Dickey and Norm Sloan played for Everett Case. Yeah. And then, I'm going down there, Tim Stoddard, just a great Indiana connection, Scott Wood, people like that, and it's going to be there forever. Like you said, the ACC is a great league. It's a showcase league for college basketball, I think. Tobacco Road, all the great stories, great legends. And I'm just happy I was part of a great team, and happy that you played so well when you came down and enjoyed your time at NC State.
Yeah, so let's kind of touch on that Indiana connection. So I've actually, now that I've graduated, I've done a lot more research. Like just looking back at, your roster while you were there, you had 3, maybe 4, 5 Indiana products that were just on your team. Just kind of talk, how influential Indiana kind of has to kind of almost mold NC State in a way over the years.
Yeah, it just seems like it's part of the deal,
Mm-hmm.
I think NC State, because of Everett Case and then Norm Sloan and all the assistant coaches that go along with that, recognized the level of talent in Indiana. And there was always an attraction. The Big Ten is the dominant league in that Midwestern area, but the ACC is kind of one of these things that just kind of sits out there on a bubble. And, there's a lot of people that want to come out of the Midwest and Indiana and get into that ACC. And it's just something that the staff has always tapped into whenever I was involved as a player or a coach. And just North Carolina State's a great university, and it's a great attraction to a lot of kids academically and also athletically. But it was mostly athletics when you're talking to guys like you and me.
Yeah. So what was it like to be under Coach Sloan? Obviously, a guy that came from Indiana. What did he mean to you, and what was he like as a coach?
Yeah, it would take me too long to tell you about Coach Sloan. I went from being a kid that they really didn't want to take, including Coach Sloan, until they started watching me play, and then I became one of his favorites, and we just shared a lot of common ideas, just the way you play the game, keep it simple and try to score points. He loved to score points. Our teams at North Carolina State still rank as one of the top scoring teams ever to play in the ACC, and that's without a shot clock and a 3-point line. So his philosophies, I just enjoyed being around him. He didn't just talk basketball. He wasn't just a basketball coach. He was a family guy and a wonderful person. Taught Sunday school while he was in Raleigh. And then I was fortunate enough to come with him down to the University of Florida and work with him as a coach for 10 years here. So I've had almost 16 years with Coach Sloan in my life, and I miss him daily, just talking to him. And he's just a normal guy, and just was always wonderful to me, and has taken care of a lot of people in his life. And again, a great family and great family man.
Yeah. So it sounds like Coach Sloan to you is what you are to me. That's exactly what that sounds like to me. So we'll kind of move forward to the national championship year. Again, I'm doing my research.
Way to go.
I should have done this a long time ago, and I would have been, because I even called my dad, who's pretty up to date on a lot of this stuff, and I started to really look into it. There's just a lot of like fun stuff that, kind of tied in Indiana and the things I learned about the national championship team. But you guys actually played UCLA earlier in the year, and it didn't go great. How was that game?
Yeah, I want to go back just a second. All right. Your dad is a great basketball story in itself. All right. Didn't make the Marion High School basketball team. Is that right?
Yep. Got cut all 4 years. And
then went to the one of the great junior colleges in all the United States, Vincennes Junior College, and earned a spot there, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So we got that out of the way. He was a good player too. Very good player. And a great story. Great story.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the UCLA game in December was set up by us not being able to play in the NCAA tournament the year before. UCLA won the national championship, and we were undefeated. So a game was set up in St. Louis, national TV game. Mm-hmm. And I know that sounds like not much these days, but in those days, not every game was on national TV. So big game, a lot of hype. We didn't play good, but down the road, it helped us. I think when we met them again in the semifinals of the NCAA tournament, UCLA at that time was a lot like the Yankees. People get beat by the Yankees just by looking at the pinstripes, and they keep looking at the Yankees uniform instead of who they're playing. Mm-hmm. And the fact that we had played them in St. Louis in December of that year, and we had gotten better, we felt like, as a team, as the season moved along. and they had a couple chinks in their armor down the stretch. In February, they lost a couple games. So things just kind of seemed to be, again, karma was working out for us. At the time, we had to beat a great Maryland team. Only one team went to the NCAA tournament from the ACC, and that was the conference tournament winner. And Maryland might have been the second best team in the country that year, might have been the best team, except we kept beating them. But it was a great run for us. That December game was probably a good warm up. They got our attention for sure, and we certainly played better the second time around. Yeah.
So you end up going to the NCAA tournament, and you end up seeing UCLA again. Obviously, I mean, I think it's 64, 65, 66, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, and 73. That's the years they won national championships, correct? What goes through your mind after you just lost the game? Obviously, you said you've gotten better over the years, but obviously mentally, it's like you said, it's kind of that uniform that kind of catches your eye. But if you could kind of see past it a little bit, you realize, okay, this is just another team. What were you thinking? Now that you get another shot, you lost earlier in the year. Obviously, you guys went undefeated the year before, which is a whole nother story that we could kind of dive into, where you could have won the national championship that year. What was kind of going through your mind seeing them and lining up against them in I think it was the semifinals, correct?
Semifinals. And the game was in Greensboro. So we had that to our advantage. I mean, we didn't set the game up. We just showed up where they told us to show up, and it happened to be Greensboro, And I thought that helped us. But I had great teammates, had great coaches. But anytime you line up with David Thompson on the floor and Tommy Burleson, you had a chance to beat anybody that you were playing. In 2 years, we lined up those guys, and we played 58 games, and we won 57 of them. Yeah. And we just had a lot of confidence in ourselves. Coach Sloan, made us feel confident, said that, we're the better team. We can get this done. And it took some breaks here and breaks there, but that's the way basketball is. And tough game all the way down, double overtime. I don't know how many NBA first round picks were on the floor, but UCLA had those on the floor plus about 7 on the bench. So,
yeah.
They were the kings. And I don't know that we really thought about all the championships that they had won before going into that game. I think we just looked at that game and kept our sole attention on that game and tried to win that game. And then all of a sudden we're part of history.
Yeah. Obviously they had a great player in Bill Walton, who gets a lot of recognition, which is well-deserved. What's your takeaway from playing against him as a player? And what did you guys do from a scouting report, try to contain him?
Yeah. I don't know if we had scouting reports in those days, Scott. We just kind of said, Coach Sloan always said, let's take care of ourselves, and that'll be good enough, But Walton was the best player in college basketball. I think you can go back and look at AP College Player of the Year 2 or 3 years in a row. Phenomenal passer, phenomenal team player, shot blocker, rebounder, and great fundamentals. So he had the whole package. Just the year before, or 2 years before, he had gone 21 for 22 in a semifinal game against Memphis State. It was called Memphis State at the time. So he was recognized as the best player in college basketball, along with David Thompson. But David's an incredible player, an incredible winner, and the combination of Burleson and Thompson that day were just good enough to get the job done. They had Keith Wilkes, a lot of other good players on their team. Yep. Walton certainly was the key player, and the most intimidating figure between you and me, somewhat, was their coach, John Wooden, over there on the sideline. When you look over there, you'd almost want to take a double take and say, that is John Wooden over there, But a great tradition, one of the best, stories ever in the history of team sports. And fortunately, we got him that day.
Yeah, John Wooden, another Indiana guy, so the connection's all over.
There we go.
So obviously that's your semifinal game. You still have another game to play after this. You did. So obviously you don't want to lay an egg. So take us into that Marquette, which was the Warriors then, right?
Yes.
So I know them as the Golden Eagles.
Okay.
Take us into that game. And, obviously I'm sure the UCLA game was a little bit draining in the fact that you knew how good they were and you had to bring your best. Now you have a whole nother game to win the national title. What was that game like?
Well, Marquette was a great team. Al McGuire, one of the great coaches of all time, and they just didn't get good yesterday. They've been good for a long, long time.
Yeah.
And they had guys like Bo Ellis, Maurice Lucas on this team. So what I remember as far as preparation for that game is Coach Sloan, instead of relaxing and easing off, he cranked it up a notch. And he made sure that we weren't going to think that we were already home,
Yeah.
we were at third base in a baseball game. We still had we had to get to home plate. And he was on us pretty good, preparation for the game, get ready to play. And we really played one of our better games of the year as far as percentages. We turned it over a lot. I don't know if you look at that box score from the Marquette game, it's a kind of a strange box score. We turned it over, I think, 23 times, but we were like 26 for 46 from the floor. We made a lot of shots, and Marquette got more shots than we did, turned it over less, but we beat them by 12. It was kind of in the second half. We walked away with that game. So a great performance, again, by that team, getting off the cloud of beating UCLA on, I think it was a Saturday, and then turning around and beating a real good Marquette, great coach Al McGuire on Monday.
So after you win the national title, what's the first thing that goes through your mind? The buzzer hits. What was the first thing that you were thinking of?
I don't know. Just couldn't believe it. As a kid, you grow up watching Texas Western beat Kentucky on TV, dribble basketball outside in Converse when the snow's on the ground, and then you end up playing on a national championship team. So the feeling, to this day, is just one that you can't duplicate. Just what it meant at the time, what it means now, the great people that I've met along the way, and the teammates that I had to share it with, and to this day still stay in touch with. And the relationships are really important, and that's what we maintain to this day. But the national championship, I'm sure, it always, when you win, it always brings you a little bit closer together, and certainly to share a national championship with a bunch of guys and a university and just all the people involved at North Carolina State, to this day is, I'm real proud of what we were able to do.
Yeah. So a lot of Wolfpack fans would be mad at me if I didn't bring up David Thompson. Kind of talk about him and how just great of a player he was.
Yeah, best ever in the ACC. That kind of says it all right there. There's been some great ones, and a great person, very humble, great competitor, loved to win, and people didn't know how good a shooter that David is or was. I've coached you and some guys that could really shoot, but I put David right in there with guys that could shoot the basketball because of his athletic ability and his ability to leap and block shots, and couldn't dunk, but alley-oop at that time. What was lost in his great basketball ability, in my opinion, was his ability to shoot the basketball. And just a great teammate. I played 6 years. I was his teammate, 4 years at North Carolina State, and then 2 years in Denver. And to this day remains one of my greatest friends, and just love him to death. And, just has been a great influence on my life, and just a super special person.
Yeah. Do you have one moment that sticks out that this is the best DT moment that I remember of him? Do you have one moment that sticks out?
Well, I don't know. In a game, in the summertime, we played so much basketball. I'm sure you did too, but we did the tours, like in the summer camps. We'd go to Gardner Webb, and John Lucas would be there, and Bobby Jones, Citadel, down at Les Robinson's camp, down at the Citadel. And sometimes the greatest things that I've ever seen him do have been in those games, like at midnight, going against great competition and breaking backboards and shattering stuff, just watching people run out from under the rim. But the moment that we shared with him, a lot of people are aware of, is the moment in the Eastern Regional where he blocked a shot and then flipped over Phil Spence's shoulder. And, nobody was sure what was going to happen at that time. So a real special moment for him to come back into that arena, one of the special moments ever in Reynolds Coliseum. And just shared so many great memories with him, and watching him block shots and so gracefully go up and catch the ball and lay it in the basket. You couldn't dunk. They at the time, Lou Alcindor, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, they took the rule of dunking out of basketball during that time for some reason. So it was almost more graceful to watch him catch the ball and lay it in instead of just flush it, So
Yeah,
all those moments that we've had to share over the history. The ABA Slam Dunk Contest out in Denver, where it was he and Dr. J going head to head in the first ever real slam dunk contest. And David missed an easy dunk, or he might have won that thing. Doc deserved it. Just had a lot of special moments with David. And again, a special person, very humble and very God-fearing, has a lot of respect for everything that goes on, and great family guy as well.
So I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Semi-Pro or Semi-Pro with Will Ferrell. A lot of our younger generation that probably watches that movie now think that Will Ferrell and Semi-Pro invented the alley-oop. But we're witnessing right now the guy on the camera that invented the alley-oop. Is that not right?
I don't know. They give us a lot of credit for it, and David deserves all the credit. Stoddard made the pass as much as I did, probably, and but it was something where David and I had the timing worked out. I had the ball in my hands a lot because I was a point guard or I was a guard, and the story on that deal is when David got to North Carolina State as a freshman, people couldn't stop him once he got the ball. They couldn't stop him. So good players he was playing against, guys older, freshmen, juniors, seniors, varsity guys, they got up and started denying him the ball at the top of the key when he came up to get the ball. He always liked to get it right in the middle of the floor. He could go either way. And he went back door one day, and I threw a pass that went up there, and he went up and laid it in. And that just seemed to start the whole deal. And that was his freshman over in Carmichael Gym, Reynolds Coliseum, one of those places. And just to this day, it's one of the prettiest plays in basketball. I remember the alley-oop from John Brody, being the quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers and throwing it to R.C. Owens in the end zone. That would date me as an NFL fan a little bit. But,
I'm giving you all the credit. It's not.
Well, thank you.
It's not Will Ferrell.
David should have he should have got that thing and gotten all the royalties for it. I don't know who's got alley-oop.com or alley-oop, but David should have it. There's no question about it.
That's for sure. So I'm going to give, so I got a really good story. There's plenty. So it's the Wolfpack Club golf course, right? Is that where it's at?
The faculty club.
Faculty club. All right. So Coach Towe hits me up one day and he says, why don't you come out here and we'll play golf? And I'd never been there. I didn't know anything about it. He just told me it's a little 9-hole course. And I bring all my clubs. I brought my whole bag. And if you've never played there before, you literally maybe need a wedge and a putter.
Yeah, sand wedge maybe too, but wedge and a putter will do it.
Yeah, so it's just a small par 3 course, and I come with my whole bag, and Coach Towe's kind of looking at me like, what are you doing? Like you need maybe 3 clubs max. What are you doing? And I'm like, what? I'm trying to win here. Like if I need my clubs, I need my clubs. And plus I had never played there. So I look at him and I'm like, where are your clubs? And he lifts up his club, one club. He brings a putter. A putter is all he brought. And we played 9 holes, and you absolutely kill me with a putter. And
good story.
And I had my entire bag, and all you played with is a putter.
That's a good story. That's a good story. I remember that, and there was a lot of things going on that day, and I'm just glad I had a chance to play golf with you then, and also at the University Club, not but the main course now. Lonnie Poole, and have been out there with you. And you've got a future in golf. I don't know what you're doing these days, but don't tell anybody that story too much about me beating you with a putter, or nobody will let you play with it,
Well, that's all right. The same thing happened to my dad. He comes on campus, and you ask him to go play tennis in the morning, and my dad played high school tennis and wasn't bad. And he comes back. You guys played at like 5:30 in the morning or 6 in the morning, something early. So by the time I wake up, he's coming back. And he says, I asked him, I said, how'd you do? He said, he absolutely killed me. So how tall are you really?
5'7".
Okay.
5'7".
You won't find a more competitive 5'7" person or 6'9" person or 7-foot person than the person that I'm looking at right now. It didn't matter what we were doing. Hands down, the most competitive, whether he's got a putter, a tennis racket, whether we're playing cards, hands down the most competitive person I've ever met. And I consider myself very competitive. So
you are, and that's a nice thing you say. Sometimes it gets in my way a little bit, but for the most part, it's been the area where I felt like I had a little bit of an advantage over some other guys. Like, for whatever reason, even in high school, it meant a lot to me to win more than anything else. I really wasn't worried about stats. I knew what my stats were, but just to win was always something, for whatever reason, was something that's why you're supposed to be trying to do it. You're not going to win every time, but you certainly try to win.
Yeah. So I had Lorenzo on my last week, and he brought up the story of when, I think we're blaming CJ Leslie. We really don't know who it was, but I think we were late. We were late to study halls, and we get a message saying meet at the intramural field at 6 a.m., 5:30, whatever it may be. And we ended up rolling down and rolling back. And I was hesitant with Lorenzo to admit it, but I had so much fun. It was so much fun. Everybody else is getting sick and throwing up. And obviously 3 hours later, everybody broke out because the chemicals on the field. But I had so much fun rolling, and I was just doing it so fast. Whose idea was that? Was that Coach Lowe's? I want to know who came up with that idea.
Okay, I've got to say that, to the best of my ability, my recall is that there was Coach Lowe, a DeMatha product, and Coach Strickland, who is a DeMatha product. And I think there's something between DeMatha and that rolling around on the ground. If you get Coach Lowe on the show, I think he would be the one that might need to explain it to you. And I think after doing that for a week or two, we were told not to do it because of what you just described, some situations. And one of my favorite recalls in that was watching Javi Gonzalez roll around on the ground. I'm sure he had never experienced anything like that before, maybe rolling on the beach down in Puerto Rico, but I know he'd never done it as a basketball player on the ground because somebody showed up late for a weightlifting session or tutoring, whatever.
I can tell you that's one of my great memories. I know we were in trouble, but I just remember sitting there just rolling as fast as I could back and I was having fun. And then obviously 3 hours later when I broke out in, I don't know if they're hives or whatever chemical, whatever they put on.
That's not funny. I'm sorry. That's not funny. I'm sorry that happened. I'm sorry that happened.
It was a lot of fun. So they obviously we couldn't do it anymore, but that's a good memory for me during that time. I got to tell you, so the roughest time for me in an NC State uniform was the day Coach Yao comes in, our athletic director, and tells us we're moving on from that staff. And I'm a man enough to admit that I teared up and everything because I was losing you. Obviously, Coach Lowe recruited me. What kind of went through your mind? Obviously, my mind, I was completely upset because I had grown so close to you in that situation. What were you thinking during that time?
Yeah, I don't know that I can even remember during those situations. It's hard to remember exactly what you're thinking. I know I felt like that we had a really good team coming back the next year,
Yeah.
And we hadn't performed as well as we would have liked in the previous years, particularly, not getting to the NCAA tournament. But we felt like we were right there on the verge of really busting through,
Yeah.
And so a little bit confused, I thought we were going to make it through that tough period right there and be coaching you guys again for another year. And then when everything happened the way it happened, I just am scrambling for a career. And fortunately, I ended up with Kermit Davis over at Middle Tennessee. And obviously would have loved to have, stayed there at North Carolina State, but it didn't work out. That's part of the business, that happens in certain situations. But I certainly enjoyed working with Coach Lowe, and I enjoyed your relationship with Coach Lowe. I thought you guys got to know each other really well. And I appreciate you saying you missed me, but I think you really missed, you knew you were going to miss being around Coach Lowe. He was getting you a lot of shots. You were leading the team in minutes played, and everything was going pretty good. You were on your way, buddy.
Yeah. And that brings me to, I went through that coaching change, and I didn't know what to do. I had already established myself really well at NC State. I had started every game of my career. I just didn't know what to do. I put out some feelers to like Notre Dame, Butler. Hey, I might be transferring. I don't know what the plan is. I just don't know what to expect. And obviously they hired Mark Gottfried, and you give me a call and you put me back in my seat, and they basically told me there's no way you're leaving NC State. And so this is like, to me, you may not even remember the call, but to me, that meant a lot coming from someone that had established so much at NC State and for their career, to basically tell me like, listen, you've established so many connections. No matter who the coach is, you're going to continue to get better and grow. Raleigh's a great place for you. NC State's a great university to get your education. And looking back on it, that was, a big part of my career to know, it'll be okay. No matter what happens next, you're going to go on and you're going to be a great player, a great student athlete, become an even better person. And that was a big moment for me. That call that you made to me, because I was really, I had probably half a leg out the door.
Yeah. That's so kind of you to say. So I recruited you twice. Is that right? Or
basically.
Yeah, good.
Yeah. Coach Gottfried and Bobby Luce should probably thank you.
I knew how happy. First of all, I knew you really enjoyed NC State. That's what I knew. If you were unhappy there and, things weren't going great, but I knew that you were going to continue to be successful no matter who the coach was, because your heart was there and your soul was there and you wanted to be there, just like you're sitting there right now back in Raleigh. And, it's a situation I've been in a couple of times in my career. And the advice I've always given the kids, even in recruiting, is you need to pick a school out because of the school and the competition and your teammates. And the coaches might be there and they might not be there. I've never had the experience of as a player of going through a coaching change. Coach Sloan was always my coach, Larry Brown in Denver. So there was never a problem. I would think it'd be very unnerving to have a coaching change during the middle of your career, particularly when you've been so successful like you had been. So give yourself credit for toughing it out. You had some good teammates. You guys knew you were going to be good. And just a matter of finding a guy to get in there and coach you up a little bit. And he brought in a good staff, and you guys were successful, and you've been very successful, and so is everybody else.
All right. I've got 3 questions to kind of end it. I ask these same questions to everybody that comes on. So you can have fun with these. These are pretty laid back.
Okay.
What was your favorite place to eat on or by campus?
Brothers Pizza and Red's College Grill. There's 2 of them.
See, that's the first time I've heard either of those. So,
well, they don't exist anymore. But if you go back in the history of Hillsborough Street, you'll find Brothers Pizza, Jimmy Russo, and Red's College Grill with Red cheeseburgers at Red.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna have to do my research on that. I've done a lot of research, but those are ones that I need to go back and look at.
Do you know where the Jolly Knave is? On Hillsborough Street.
I do not.
Okay.
I know where Hillsborough Street is. Does that help?
Right below Hillsborough, right below Jolly Knave. It's a bar restaurant owned by Mitch Hazari. Right below that is a building or a space that no longer is vibrant. There's nobody in there, I don't think. All right. Yeah. And that was Red's College Grill right below that. Right
okay.
Below that.
All right. I think I know the answer to this, but if you want to maybe go to your second favorite, what is your most memorable moment in an NC State uniform?
Winning the ACC tournament against Maryland our junior year, when Maryland was better than us. They just couldn't beat us because of David Thompson. And we'd beaten them 5 straight times. And if we didn't win that ACC tournament final game, we never would have gone to an NCAA tournament. Only one team from the ACC went to the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
And Maryland played great, and Burleson played better. Burleson had 38, and we went on to win 103-100. And I went over after the game was over and everybody else was out on the court celebrating. And I just went over and sat down next to Coach Sloan's wife, Joanne, and cried, and just the emotions, we were just drained. Right? That was before the NCAA tournament championship.
And that was an overtime game too, correct?
Overtime, 103-100. Some people say that is the best game ever played in the ACC, with all the situations involved. One team goes, the other goes home, just all the things.
Yeah.
Great players. Maryland had John Lucas and Tom McMillan and Elmore and all those guys.
All right. So what do you miss most about being in an NC State uniform?
Just being around the guys and playing and the college atmosphere. We had a great time at NC State. It was like a paradise, when we were there. It was so much fun, and the student body enjoyed, our success. People would sit out the night before the game and, get in line for tickets. Just the whole atmosphere going through the ACC. I miss all that. It was something that you kind of like a comet. You're kind of shooting through space, and you get a chance to taste that for 3 or 4 years, and then your college career is over. But I can't think of anybody that enjoyed their college life and career more than me at North Carolina State and in Raleigh. When I left home Converse and drive my little Ford Maverick down to Raleigh, I didn't know where I was going, and I didn't know whether I was going to play baseball or basketball, really. But it turned out to be as good a 4 years as I've ever had in my life. Then I've coached there a couple of times. So just the whole feeling of being around the NC State people and the fans and the excitement, it's been a great run, great ride for me, and a great journey.
Yeah. So I don't know if you saw, so Elliot Avent had an interview last night, and he was basically thanking all the reporters. And I don't know if I could one up what he did. But to close out, to me personally, I just want to say thank you, because there's a lot of people that have influenced me during my time at NC State. I don't know if any of them would be more than you and what you did for me. Obviously, what you did for my family. I'm gonna get emotional talking about it, but I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart, because you really shaped my career. Just being the person you were, making me become a better person, as well as a basketball player. So I got to say thank you for that.
Well, you're welcome, but thank you. I wish I could take credit for any of that, because it's you that's really done all that. But I'll go ahead and say thank you and accept it. You come from a great family. You're a great kid. And obviously you're doing really well, and you just keep it up. I don't know about your future in the podcast business, but hopefully you're doing well in that too. I think you're right where you belong in your life. I've told you that before, there in Raleigh, being around people and just being there. So good luck with all that. And thank you for those kind words. You were great to work with. I've known you for a long time, known your family, and known those Marion Giants and how tough they are. And the guy we didn't mention, Julius Mays was your teammate. He came down here too, and loved Julius as well. And he's doing well now, and just hope that your teammates and all those guys that played with you, they were good guys. I hope they're all doing well.
Yep, for sure. So again, everybody that tunes in, Wolfpack Nation, thank you. Like, subscribe, do all the stuff that, I don't really understand, but we got to say it anyway. Thank you, Coach Towe, for coming on. I appreciate it. And go Pack.